Hey, legal besties, and welcome to Ladies in Law. I'm one of your hosts, Mikaela.
And I'm Allison.
And this is the podcast where we talk about how to curate a authentic network, where we talk about making the law digestible and what it's like being a woman in a male-dominated field.
And we have lots of fun.
We do. This episode, we're going to go in a little bit about who we are, why we chose to be attorneys, kind of just like a little get to know us episode.
Isn't it weird to say like we're attorneys?
Yeah.
Do you still get like weird?
I still get
I'm
weird.
like, whoa.
And like I can never decide, do I want to say attorney or lawyer?
Oh.
You know, or do you always attorney?
I always say attorney.
Yeah. I sometimes like switch
I'm
it
a
up.
lawyer.
Yeah. That one sounds a little lawyer.
A little fancy.
I know it does. So yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah. So my name's Allison Melendez. I am a personal injury attorney at the Simon Law Group with Mikaela.
Yes. Yeah, I'm Mikaela, also a personal injury attorney at the Simon Law Group.
And we do all kinds of different types of cases. But for anyone that's not familiar with the law, it includes when there's motor vehicle collisions, wrongful deaths, there's slip and fall cases. We have trucking cases. We have, all kinds of,
basically all kinds of collisions, slip and falls, trip and falls, sexual assault,
yes,
dog bite cases, kind of like any time that you are wronged within the civil sector.
Yes,
we are there for you. And what that means is there's no criminal charges involved.
Yes, we don't do criminal law. We just do civil law. And honestly, it's just if there's an injury, there is potentially a case there.
Yeah.
So a lot of our work is primarily focused on working with clients. We don't represent insurance companies. So we're plaintiff. That's what it means to be a plaintiff's attorney. You help injured people.
Exactly.
And we love what we do.
We really do. So let's kind of get into why, like our why for this field. So what made you want to be an attorney? And then also your experience by being both a plaintiff and a defense attorney.
I always just genuinely love people, and I love storytelling. And so my path to the law was a little bit, I honestly didn't know I wanted to be a lawyer. My entire undergrad was journalism and communication. So I thought I would be a journalist, and I loved interviewing people, telling their story. That was doing features on people. Like that was my main thing I loved. And then during my senior year of undergrad, I took a class that was communications in the law. Ooh. And it was just such a fascinating field, all about First Amendment issues and all that. And I loved it. And I was like, oh my God, I kind of want to go to law school, but it seemed like this huge foreign world. And so I was like, let me take a gap year, think about it, make sure it's expensive. So let's make sure it's the good fit. And then I decided to go to law school. And once I was in law school, I went to Chapman University in Orange County. And I ended up clerking at a defense firm doing personal injury defense, so representing insurance companies. And I loved it there, to be honest. Like I had a great mentor, but that's all I had ever been exposed to. And so I think it's really important for people that are interested in the law, test out your options. You might never know if you like something unless you try it out. Mm-hmm. And so I did kind of crave that feeling of wanting to help people and just actually interacting with clients a little bit more. And so my good friend Robbie Munoz, who also works at the Simon Law Group, they knew of an opening. And so everything just kind of worked out. And I ended up switching to the plaintiff side, representing injured people. And I love it. I get to talk to clients every day. I get to be there for them, help tell their stories. And I think for me, just that human connection gives me a lot of fulfillment. I know for other people, it's different things. But for me, it's the fulfillment of helping someone and being there for them and advocating on their behalf.
Absolutely. Yeah. And from a front row seat, you freaking kill it. Like you're an incredible advocate.
You're so
and
sweet.
The way that you show up for people, not even just clients, but like friends, colleagues, your family.
Aww.
Like you are incredible.
Well, likewise. So what about you? Can you tell everyone your pathway to the law, sort of your educational background, what led you to want to be an attorney?
Yeah, absolutely. So I always knew I was either going to be a therapist or I was going to be an attorney. Like I just that was it. Like those were my two options.
And now you're both.
And now, I know it really does feel like that a lot of the time. But I was raised in a single mom household and she's a social worker and just has like the most amazing bleeding heart. And so like it was instilled in me from like a very young age of just like, I am going to give back and I'm going to help people in any capacity that I possibly can. And my little sister is actually a social worker now too. And it's just like my family just like really cares about people. And so I was really fortunate to grow up in a household of a lot of empaths. And so for me, I mean, from the time I was like able to speak, I was told that I should be an attorney. Like that was just like my family's like running joke, and it's just a really kind way of saying that I was argumentative. But
thanks, guys.
But thank you. Look at me now. And so I knew that was a field that I could go into. But I also knew, well, if I want to be an attorney, I'm going to do that for the rest of my life. I want to go to school and really learn about people. Mm-hmm. And so I was a sociology major, which could have, lent itself to being a therapist or being in the law. And so I did that. I took a gap year because I was like, I really don't know what I want to do. Like, I just know that for me, I really want to give a voice to people. I want to show people their rights. I want to help them find their voice. And so I really thought like that leaned more towards the law, but I also didn't want to go in debt for a profession that I didn't even know if I was going to like. So I took a gap year. I worked for the Simon Law Group and I loved it. I loved every part of it. I don't think that I ever knew like that I wanted to be a personal injury attorney necessarily. I just wanted to be a victim advocate. And I
love that.
I think that this is like the perfect field for that.
Can you explain? So, I love your background because I think it's so motivating and inspiring for people that maybe want to be attorneys, but you literally started like from the bottom and worked all your entire way up. So what positions did you hold within the Simon Law Group?
Yeah. So I started as an administrative assistant. And then I worked my way into being a law clerk while I was going to University of Kentucky Law School. Woo-hoo. So I was a remote little law clerk all the way in Kentucky. And then once I graduated, took the bar, I became an attorney. So definitely have kind of worked my way up through the Simon Law Group and really, I mean, just have like the most admiration for like every single position within a firm because like everybody's contribution matters.
And I think starting off in a different position, you see things that now I'm sure help you. Now that you're an attorney, you're like, oh yeah, I remember X, Y, and Z. And that helps me help the way you approach a case, perhaps.
Absolutely. Because there are so many different facets to a case and there's such a different timeline for every single case. Like they have the inception and then you build it up. And so it's really important to know where to find things, where to file things, who to go to get it done. And like we are really fortunate here because like we do have incredible like employees that just like show up and like show out and are easy to kind of talk to. But I know not every field or firm is like that.
Not at all. And I think it's so nice to when you have kind of worked your way up, you see all the different things you have to see. So for example, for people that don't know about civil personal injury law, so there's two different phases. There's the pre-litigation phase and then there's litigation phase. Can you kind of explain things you saw what is the pre-litigation phase?
Yeah. So pre-litigation is almost exactly like it sounds, like it's pre-litigating the case. So that's going to be before you file a lawsuit. So that's like every single, let's talk about like a motor vehicle case. You have a statute of limitations of 2 years, which means that whole 2 years, you don't have to file your lawsuit you can't file it after those 2 years. Right. So during the first 2 years, it can be pre-litigation where that's when you get, your car assessed for the damage. That's when you go to the doctors and you see like, hey, how has this impacted me? Has it impacted me? Because I think a lot of the time, after your body has experienced a traumatic event, it might not surface right away. So it gives you this kind of like time period to really like sit back, listen to your body. Are you in pain? Are you not? Go to doctor's appointments, kind of assess like if damage was done. And so during that time, you can be in the pre-litigation phase where you might send out like demand letters or do things where you're trying to resolve it before having to get into litigation.
Yeah. And then for anyone that doesn't know, so litigating just means that it refers to after you filed the lawsuit, you're working up the case. You're engaged in this entire process that's meant to prepare your case in the event that it goes to trial. And at our firm, we have so much valuable experience. We get to see cases that go from pre-litigation all the way up and through trial. And so I think, have you noticed that those skills that you learned in the pre-litigation phase have worked their way and helped you now prepare for like trials?
Oh my gosh, so much, because you really get to have your hand in understanding what that person is going through while they're going through it. And I think that that's huge for like a damages story. And so like what that means is truly getting into the way that incident, so whether it's a car crash, whether it's a slip and fall, whether it's a dog bite, like you get to really look at what that traumatic experience was for the client and work with them through it.
Yeah. And I think if you you kind of mentioned demand letters earlier, a demand letter doesn't just end in the pre-litigation phase. That demand letter grows. At some point, I know that when we do, for example, deposition prep, I look at prior demand letters that were sent and we'll pull specific pieces from that and tie that into what we then during depositions when your client gets asked questions about their injuries. And so sometimes I'll ask questions at the end and I'll tie in or a closed loop. Wow, can't talk. I will go full circle and go back to that demand letter and pull things and remind my client like, oh, the defense attorney didn't ask you about this thing. And then even after their deposition, sometimes we include parts of the demand letter in the mediation brief. And we'll explain all of these things as the episodes progress. But I think from our perspective, being able to do cases from pre-litigation all the way through trial, we have a unique set of skills, and it's so nice to be able to advocate for people.
Absolutely. And I think that that's kind of something that we both, I know that that's something that we both share, is like wanting to just like fight for individuals that have been wronged. And I think that that's why, that's a big part of like why we get along so well. You know what I mean? Where it's like, we both just like, we are driven by the same why and the same passion and wanting to really show up. And so it's nice to have someone that you can kind of just like rely on and be validated and like, hey, like this is what I'm thinking to help this person. Like, do you have any other ideas, or what do you think? Or kind of having that soundboard of just like, this is my plan of attack, but I'm wondering if there's a better way or if there's something I'm not seeing. Or
sometimes just issues come up. You think you have a great case, but then issues come up throughout the case and you're like, I still want to be the best advocate that I can be, but now I have this big issue. How would you approach this? How have you seen this before? And I think that's the purpose of this podcast, is to allow people to come together and just continue building a community where we can all lean on each other for support, for templates, for guidelines, for anything that can just make us be better advocates at the end of the day.
Yeah. Some of my favorite times throughout the day are when like we'll text each other and it's just like, can I call you to vent? Or like, can I call you to like go over this? Or just like you have that soundboard of someone that just like intrinsically understands what you're going through or what you're feeling, or knows to give advice, or knows to like how to step in or what you need in that moment, when a lot of the times like I might not.
Absolutely. And I think one thing that I noticed starting off on the defense was, sometimes you have a mentor or a partner that's a little bit more senior. And I would feel embarrassed going to the partner and asking like dumb questions. Or they're not dumb. They're just like, you're starting off. You just don't know.
The questions you feel like maybe you should know.
Yeah. You're like, should I have known that question? Yeah. And I think by creating a friendship around people that practice similar things, or even just doesn't even have to be the same thing, but just a community where you can be like, hey guys, just checking in. Is this a dumb question? Or can someone please look at this email before I hit send? Because you like second guess things, and it's just so nice to like. For me, I have you, but not everybody has a Mikaela to lean on, and so I think it's so nice to be able to give back. And for anybody that's starting off, like as they just became licensed, or maybe you're still in law school, we're here to provide guidance and to answer any questions that you might feel are silly or dumb, but they're really not. You just don't know.
It's a judgment-free zone for sure. Because we all have to start somewhere.
Yes. 100%.
And I think it's really important to understand that, because I think sometimes when you get so far into a field, or you're so far, I don't want to say desensitized, but you're just like, you live it.
Yeah.
I think it's easy to kind of forget that you did start somewhere, that there was a time that you didn't know how to do that.
Absolutely. And I think there's a couple of ways people start off, right? Some people, as soon as you get licensed, they throw you to the wolves and good luck. You either sink or swim. And I think for me personally, it's just a poor way to learn. I think if you can create a community that you can lean on that will teach you these things, like I always try to give back to the younger attorneys, and I try to tell them like, look, if you have a hearing that you need help prepping for, please like reach out so I can teach you what you have to like review before you go into this, or before a deposition, or before whatever it may be. And I think just making people feel comfortable and safe, it really does make you a better advocate, I think.
I could not agree more. I could not agree more. And I think something that like I love about like the way that we show up too is like we like to really preempt what someone is gonna need. You know what I mean? Maybe that's our plan A. That's not what I mean.
It can be your plan A.
What is that? What is that saying? You know, type A. When you're
huge type A people.
Yeah, we're very, very type A oriented. But it's like I have a how-to for everything because it's like I know that I started somewhere, and sometimes I need a refresher because I haven't done something in a minute. But like I want to share those. Like I want people to like know what to expect. I think the unknown sometimes is just so debilitating and overwhelming that it's like I want to give, any kind of like guidance that I can.
Someone told me that it takes 5 minutes for you to just ask me something versus you spending an entire day researching something. And I think especially on the plaintiff side, time is money, and I like to work smarter, not harder. If I can go to someone and just ask them like a 2-minute question and save myself an hour of research, why wouldn't I do that?
Absolutely.
And I have something similar. So I don't have how to do guides, but the minute I switched over to the plaintiff side, I created a OneNote document or notebook, I guess, with all these different sections on training. So client deposition, CMC, and again, we'll go over all of these acronyms throughout the podcast. But for me, it was just switching over sides. Even though I had practiced personal injury, it's completely different. Absolutely. And so anytime someone would give me advice, I just write that down. Or if someone made a comment in our group chat, we have a Microsoft Teams chat where all the attorneys chime in for help. I would copy and paste that, and just so that later on, if I ever came across that issue, I would go there first. And then if I still didn't understand what was going on, then I'd go to the attorneys and ask again. But even to this day, I'll go back and I'm like, oh yeah, what's the time frame to do this? Or do I need to add a declaration to this? And I'm like, control find.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that's genius. Yeah, especially because it's like you don't always want to have to ask the same question twice. So it's like, oh, I have this like place that I can go to that I use. I think that's smart just for all purposes, for all professions. It's so nice to just have like that like little data bank for you. It's like, I think another thing that's going to come up within this is like always like setting up future you for success.
Yes.
And so it's like that is setting future you up for so much success, where it's like, I have this, like anytime that I need this, I know where to go.
I love that.
Okay. So we've talked a bit about, us being attorneys, why we chose this field. Let's talk a little bit about who we are outside of being attorneys. Because I think while we are attorneys, we're so much more than what our profession is. And so it's important to always kind of be pouring into all facets of you. So let us know you a little bit more.
So a little bit about me. So I was actually born in Ecuador, and both my parents are Ecuadorian. And let's see, I have a baby girl. Her name's Camila. She just turned 1.
She's like quite literally the most precious being in the entire world.
Cute little chubby thing. She's literally my world right now. So everything revolves around her. And just transitioning into being a mom has been a huge, just like life-changing experience, and never really like was prepared for this. But I honestly think it's made me a better attorney.
I love that. Can you kind of go into like why?
Yeah, I think I was already very empathetic before. And now it's just, I'm very cognizant of how precious time is. And so, before I would work late into the night, or, I wasn't really like good about boundaries with clients. And now I think I just value my time with her so much. So during my work hours, I will crank away all the hard work that needs to be done, but I'm a little bit more strict about my timelines. Yeah. Like by this time I'm done for the day. Like this is Camila time. And I think that has made me just way better about time management. I think time management is just so important in our profession, but you also, like you said, you have to pour into all your cups, and not just an attorney. There's a little bit of everything. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I have hobbies and interests outside of the profession. And so it really has helped me just focus in on how to manage my time better.
Yeah. I love that. And I think like that's so important to just be intentional with your time. And that sounds like such a small saying, but truly just being intentional and like, okay, I'm devoting myself to this right now so that I can do this later, I think is a good mindset.
Absolutely. What about you? What do you like to do for fun?
Well, I am about a month and a half-ish away from my wedding. So I like to spend my time with my fiance. He is also an attorney. We met the very first day of orientation at law school, and he's just quite literally like my favorite human on this planet. Just like, I love him.
He's pretty awesome.
He's pretty awesome. So hanging out with him. And we have a almost 4-year-old little golden doodle who literally is the reason why I get out of the house most days, because I'm like, I have to go for a walk. I have to see the sun. So definitely that, and sports. Big sports gal. Huge. We are season ticket holders to University of Kentucky football. So that season's coming up, which is a really fun one. So lots of just, sport watching, sun soaking.
Living the California dream.
Yeah, I know. What's a third? I need a third. And I'm like, no, that's pretty much it. But I love it.
I love it. Well, that's a little bit about us, and we'd love to obviously continue to share a little bit about ourselves. But thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. We're really excited to build this community, and we hope that everyone continues to reach out and tune in every week.
Thank you for being here. We will see you in a couple weeks.
See you soon.